You're listening to the Telltale Channel. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check out my Patreon. And take a look at my other YouTube channels too. You can find some ad-free, uncensored, complete versions of my videos on my website, owenmorgan.com. And while you're there, don't forget to sign up for my email list to get early access to everything I release. All links are in the description. In this podcast, Candace Owens was fired from the Daily Wire. I'm honestly surprised it took so long. Let's talk about why, in my opinion, she was fired. Let's talk about the never-ending fear campaign Republicans are running to keep the outrage machine churning. It's a fascinating process to watch and a valuable learning experience. Marjorie Taylor Greene just tried to kick Mike Johnson out as Speaker of the House. I love everything about it. The Republicans are causing never-ending chaos for each other, and I am eating it up. Shane Vaughn believes Trump is the Messiah. He's inextricably linked to religion and politics. He just said some of the most racist stuff I think I've ever heard. And I've heard some doozies. Let's talk about him. This is Shane Vaughn. He is a pastor, a Trump pastor, believes that Trump is sent by God and that Trump is the Messiah. He has said those words, Trump is the Messiah. I'm not joking. And he is the source of this sound on my soundboard.
I've lived for the Lord my whole life, and I was dumb as a box of rocks and didn't know it.
So anyway, he's about to tell us about Ketanji Brown Jackson. Listen to what he has to say here.
See, the problem is Jumanji Jungle, Judge Jumanji Jungle lips. The problem with it is this, because what's coming out of her lips is monkey sense.
So what he's saying and doing here is grossly, horrifically, disgustingly racist. I mean, this is like, God, what do I even compare this to? Like how, this is like going to your grandma's house and finding that your grandma has a minstrel show type of blackface garden gnome character eating watermelon. That's how deeply racist this is. Like, holy shit. How does it get more racist without just flying like a Confederate flag? I don't know. This is insane. This is just pure unadulterated racism right here.
Problem with it is this, because what's coming out of her lips is monkey sense, not common sense. It's jungle monkey sense pouring out of your liberal lips, and you are a curse to this nation. You are a rodent in our republic.
I mean, not for nothing, but he, calling people a rodent or vermin or cockroaches or whatever. I was just talking about this in another video not too long ago. One of the stages of genocide, 10 stages of genocide, that's one of them. Number 4, I believe, dehumanization. Those perceived as different are treated with no form of human rights or personal dignity. During the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda, Tutsis were referred to as cockroaches. The Nazis referred to Jews as vermin. This guy, Shane Vaughn, literally just he's basically quoting Hitler, practically, in what he's saying about Ketanji Brown Jackson. Holy shit, dude.
You are a rodent in our republic. Your mindset is messed up. It is the enemy of the people. Disrobe yourself because you have dishonored yourself.
This guy needs help. And not just for that. Like, that's pure unadulterated racism. Obviously, I'm sure I don't even need to say that. I'm sure everybody knows exactly why that's so racist. If you're from like Italy or I don't know, Germany or Spain or China or something, and you're unfamiliar with why that's so racist, calling black people monkeys has an old racist connotation to it. There was a time when black people were made fun of and laughed at for being black and treated like complete garbage. I mean, even worse than it is now, honestly. And I mean, that, that's like 1800s level stuff. That's like after the slaves were freed, the black community, African Americans, people who were affected by the African slave trade when they were freed, white slave owners were compensated for their slaves, by the way. The U.S. government purchased those slaves for them and then freed them. Didn't give a goddamn dime to the slaves, though, now did they? Anyway, when they freed the slaves had spent their entire lives doing one thing. You know, they growing cotton or growing watermelon or, you know, farming in some way. Watermelon was a symbol of freedom for ex-slaves because they could now grow their own watermelon. They could run their own farm. They could do it themselves, and they could sell it and make the money themselves. It wasn't just going into somebody else's pocket. Watermelon was a symbol of freedom to slaves, and people like Shane Vaughn, people who called them monkeys and all of that stuff, used watermelon as a stereotype against them, created caricatures, you know, created little tiny things you put in your lawn that has like exaggerated features, exaggerated black skin, exaggerated big lips with, you know, watermelon, eating watermelon and everything else. It's just like, it doesn't get more racist than that. Like, my God, Shane Vaughn is a messed up person. By the way, if you don't know who he is, this is Shane Vaughn calling Donald Trump the Messiah.
What is the prophetic seal that Yahweh placed upon Donald Trump and upon his true people?
God placed a prophetic seal on Trump. Okay, go on.
It is supernatural prosperity and blessings. That's the prophetic seal.
So what Shane Vaughn is saying is, if you are successful, if you are doing well financially or whatever, then that is a sign that you are doing the right thing. And Shane Vaughn is financially successful because he's a Trump pastor and everybody wants to hear about how Trump is secretly Jewish and really the Messiah. And that means he's correct about his suppositions. Okay, go on.
The ring of God, when he touches your life, there will be unparalleled blessings that will come into your life that you didn't ask for, you didn't create. You're just anointed for that season, and the evidence of it is on the prosperity of the nation and the people. Donald Trump carries the prophetic seal of the calling of God. He is Joseph. If you are anointed by Yahweh for a specific plan and purpose, you are a Messiah. Yeshua was the Messiah of mankind, but Donald Trump is the Messiah of America. What is
the point is that this guy literally believes that Trump is the Messiah. Same guy. Dude is calling Ketanji Brown Jackson, Supreme Court Justice of the United States, an ape, a monkey. That is some shit right there. Like, how do you get to this point? How do you get here where you're willing to do something like this? You know, most people, it seems to me, will keep the air of innocence. They'll pretend to be innocent. What? I just think he'll do a better job as president is all. I'm not racist. I don't hate anybody for anything. This guy is playing his deck right now. He's laying it all out. Yeah, I think she's a monkey. My God, what is wrong with him? Like, he doesn't even care. Anyway, let me know what you think about it in the comments. That's insane. That is absolutely insane. The level of racism here is insane. By the way, I want to point something out here, okay? People like Shane Vaughn and, Trump and all the people that I talk about, Lance Wallanosh, Gene Bailey, all of the others, they always talk about the left being offended and how offended they are. And they're snowflakes, special little snowflakes, and they can't handle anything, and right? Well, I'm on the left, and what Shane Vaughn just said about Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Monkey sense, not common sense. It's jungle monkey sense pouring out of your liberal lips, and you are a curse.
What he just said about Ketanji Brown Jackson, I'm not offended by that. That doesn't offend me. I've heard way worse than that. I just think you're a scumbag. If you don't want me to think that you're a scumbag, then don't do scumbag stuff. See how easy it is? I listen to this stuff day in and day out. Literally nothing that this guy says could offend me. I am unoffendable. Almost. Just about. Couple of things would offend me. I'm not even going to bother talking about it right now. I just think that you're a piece of garbage, is all. Like, work on your reputation if you're that, like, bent out of shape about it. No one is offended by you, okay? We're not special snowflakes. Nobody cares. We just think you're a scumbag, is all. Jesus Christ. Anyway, tell me what you think about this guy. It's just insane, man. Get help, Shane. Next up, Candace Owens was fired from the Daily Wire. I'm honestly surprised it took so long. Let's talk about why, in my opinion, she was fired. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon and check out my website and email list for early access to uncensored, ad-free, complete videos. All links are in the description. Sure, you guys remember a little while back, Kanye West suddenly started saying, oh God, anti-Semitic stuff isn't even like the right term for it. He was saying how much he loves Hitler. I don't know how else to say it. Like, the dude said that he loves Hitler. If you don't remember that, let me just give you a little reminder here. By the way, just for the record, I support Palestine. I believe that the Palestinians are being terribly mistreated and they deserve their own rights. They deserve human rights. They deserve to take part in a government. I'd love to see a one-state solution where Israel's government and Palestine's government is completely dissolved and a new government is formed in which everybody was treated equally and fairly and everybody had a vote, a democratic system. Not going to happen. It's a pipe dream. But that's my ideal situation. The point is, I'm pro-Palestine. But anti-Semitism, bro, oh my God, it's crazy. I'm anti-Israel. I am pro-Jewish person. Israel's desperate to conflate Jews and Israel. The Israeli government is desperate to connect them. I don't connect them. The Israeli government's disgusting and evil and wrong. Jews, I have no issue with at all. In fact, my neighborhood is 52% Jewish, but that's neither here nor there. When I hear Kanye West say things like what you're about to hear him say, it like raises my eyebrows nearly off my head.
Can we just kind of say, like, you like the uniforms, but that's about it?
No. There's a lot of things that I love about Hitler. A lot of things.
Oh boy, that's insane. Like, usually people don't. I mean, I imagine that there are a lot of people that feel that way. Like a lot. A weird number of people that feel that way about Hitler, but they don't normally come out and say it like that. Like, Jesus, dude, this guy just, you know what? I'll let Greg Locke say it for me.
I'm dumber than a box of rocks in a lot of areas.
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate that. Yes, that's how I feel about the situation. Absolutely. So anyway, Kanye West is absolutely terrible. Like, absolutely awful. Literally said that he loves Hitler. Does it get worse than that? As it turns out, it does. If you don't know Candace Owens, she was fired from the Daily Wire, fascinatingly. So I want to talk about Candace Owens a little bit, what she's been up to, and why she was likely, in my opinion, fired from the Daily Wire. I think it's because she's anti-Semitic. So let's talk about Candace Owens's like connection to Kanye West, okay? When Kanye came out, I went on, by the way, he calls himself Ye, apparently changed his name legally. I don't care. He's Kanye West. That's his branding. And in my opinion, I have a strong suspicion that he may have rebranded to Ye to save his Kanye or his Kanye West image and reputation, because he knew he was about to trash it by going and talking about how evil Jews are and everything. So I'm not feeding into it. He's Kanye West to me. Anyway, let's just talk about the connection between Kanye West and Candace Owens a little bit. Maybe that'll make it clearer why Candace Owens was fired from the Daily Wire, which, by the by, is owned by a Jewish guy. It's owned by Ben Shapiro. He's Jewish. Literally every video that you have ever seen of Ben Shapiro, he's wearing a yarmulke. He wears a yarmulke in every video. He's Jewish. And somehow, who knows how, he keeps finding himself surrounded by Nazis. Weird, huh? Hiring Nazis and working with Nazis. Strangest thing. Wonder why. So anyway, let's talk about Candace Owens, since she was fired from the Daily Wire for anti-Semitism, presumably. Let's talk about her connection to Kanye. Check this clip out. This is from Kanye West. This one is from early December 2022.
I want to say with Ben Shapiro, he was so disrespectful to his employee, Candace Owens, for speaking out against me. And that just showed you another level.
He was disrespectful. Okay. Ben Shapiro, a Jewish person, was disrespectful to his employee, Candace Owens, when he criticized her for saying that Kanye is a good person after he said, "I love Hitler." What? I mean, so many degrees of separation here, so many nodes to follow. It's insane. This is just nuts, dude. Are you kidding me? Yeah, totally. Yeah. Ben Shapiro, the Jew Ben Shapiro, is mistreating his employee, Candace Owens. Definitely. Absolutely.
It showed you another level of this kind of control that's out there.
This kind of control. Yeah. This is evidence in Kanye West's mind that Jews control everything. Ben Shapiro owns a company, hired a woman to work for that company, and when she starts agreeing with somebody that wants this dude dead, he fires her. Wow. See, this is evidence of Jewish control. They see Jews around every corner, don't they? This is nuts.
I agree. I like Candace. She has a lot of courage. She's a really smart, beautiful lady.
No to all three of those things, but okay.
She's really defended you. But
she did. She defended Kanye West.
Are you saying Ben Shapiro's got her on a leash?
I think it's pretty obvious.
Pretty obvious, apparently, that Ben Shapiro has Candace Owens on a leash. Because Ben Shapiro is Jewish, of course, and Jewish people like to make sure that they can control everybody. Everyone's on a leash. Absolutely. In fact, I'm saying this stuff and defending the Jewish community because I'm on a leash, right?
As our Paul Watson, we didn't launch her. She deserved it. But InfoWars launched Candace Owens.
I didn't know that, actually, that Candace Owens got her start on InfoWars. Is that real? Did that really happen? I'm not sure.
Yes, but everyone is still controlled by the Jewish media. We need to serve Christ first. Christ first.
Dude, this is insane. This is like La La Land insane. Seriously. It's like every time you sneeze, you gotta blame a Jew for it. Are you kidding? Anyway, I really want to establish a relationship between Kanye West and Candace Owens. I want to make it clear that it wasn't just like a passing fad, or, maybe she just kind of knew the guy and Ben Shapiro unfairly fired her because he's Jewish and that's what Jewish people do. I want to establish a connection. I want to make it clear that Candace Owens defended not just Kanye West, but Hitler. Really. Candace Owens defended and endorsed some of the actions of Hitler himself. You think I'm joking? I'm not. Just stick around. This clip is from December 12th, 2022.
And then Nick is another savant.
Nick, he's talking about Nick Fuentes.
Like a Rain Man of information. And it's funny because Candace Owens is hitting me like, yo, Milo was talking about you like a month before you guys started working together, and he's gonna take you down and everything. And I was like, what about Nick Fuentes? I can't say nothing about Nick. He's good. I respect Nick. Like, so as far as people who understand.
So the bottom line, Kanye West was talking to Candace Owens and using her as a method of weeding out questionable or bad people in his group. He trusted her to give him good information. And why did he trust her so much? Well, they've known each other for years, of course. This image right here is of them showing up. I forget where they showed up to. They showed up somewhere. Both wearing White Lives Matter shirts, which, by the way, is like a white supremacist dog whistle. They're both wearing white supremacist dog whistle t-shirts together. And this was from, when was this from? Yeah, this is from October 10th, 2022. They were close. Or are close. I don't know. Seriously, Ben Shapiro fires Candace Owens. Does anybody wonder why? Really? Yeah, you want somebody, if you want your boss dead because of his ethnicity or whatever, I'd say he's totally justified in, like, you're creating a hostile work environment now, right? Say I'm an atheist and I hired an evangelical Trump-supporting nutcase to help me do something. I mean, I wouldn't really be comfortable with that, but you know what? Okay, if they can do the job, they can do the job. But when they start talking about loving Hitler and wishing that atheists were all dead, like, how much more hostile does the work environment have to get, truthfully? Okay, so what I've shown so far is just kind of circumstantial, even. I haven't even, like, laid out the strongest evidence that she's a Nazi yet. Not that she's a friend of Kanye's. That's established, right? That she is a Nazi. That's what I'm trying to get to. This one came out in late February 2024.
Do you know which books the Nazis were burning?
Tell me, Candace, which books?
I'm asking you this, and I'm telling you why it blew my mind, is because definitely something that we covered extensively, and you will cover extensively throughout the public education system, is the Holocaust, Nazi Germany. It's why so many people, when they're commenting, it seems like the only historical reference they have is...
Actually, I didn't learn, I don't think I learned about the Holocaust at all in school. I had an unusual school life. So I quit in 7th grade and I went back in 10th, but I was in 9th grade classes, so I skipped some stuff. I know that my kid, at the very least, we'll go with my kid as like the baseline. My kid had some World War II education in, I think, 7th grade. But throughout my high school experience, they taught about the Civil War and the Revolutionary War. I don't ever remember learning about Nazis at any point ever in my school, like, career or whatever, public school career. I remember the guy that taught about the Civil War, dude's name was Mr. Sharp. He was so very obviously a Republican. I can't even believe they got that dude to teach that class. But surprisingly, I was pretty satisfied with how he taught it. He showed us routes and he told us about, like, the Anaconda Plan and the basically Ulysses S. Grant v. Robert E. Lee and what this person was doing and how they were going around and this and that and cutting off supplies. Really intricate, really detailed. Yeah, I didn't learn about the Holocaust in school at all, but I guess apparently Candace Owens learned about the Holocaust exclusively. She's saying, like, there's, like, nothing else, that, like, that's the only thing, the baseline in public schools. Okay, go on.
Public education system is the Holocaust, Nazi Germany. It's why so many people, when they're commenting, it seems like the only historical reference they have is, it's just like Hitler. They're literally Nazis.
Well, look, there's a meme of a leftist person calling things Nazis, right? Or calling people Nazis, calling this or that Nazis, whatever. I don't do that, okay? I make a point of only ever calling somebody a Nazi if they're a Nazi. And not only is Kanye West very clearly a Nazi, he said, "I love Hitler." It doesn't get clearer than that. But she is about to defend the things that Hitler did. She's a Nazi, okay? What constitutes a Nazi if not somebody who says, "I love Hitler," and defends the things that Hitler said and or did, and defends the people that defends the things that Hitler said or did? Okay, continue listening. Go on. So, too many people calling others Nazis around, right? Go on, Candace.
Points they have is it's just like Hitler. They're literally Nazis. So
She is literally a Nazi, in my opinion.
that obsession with only referring to that historical aspect is partially because when you're in the public school system, you really focus on.
I really did not. Like, I really focused on the Civil War in West Virginia, and I really focused on the Revolutionary War when I lived in Connecticut when I was pre-8 years old. I really don't remember any World War II education.
On World War II and the Nazis. So I was shocked that I never learned throughout that schooling that the brown shirts, the student activists that went around.
If you don't know what the brown shirts are, they're kind of like the Proud Boys to some degree, a little bit. They're like, the Proud Boys are like Trump's brown shirts. It's a little more complicated than that, but for all intents and purposes, we'll go with that. Keep listening.
The student activists that went around burning a bunch of books were burning books that they deemed to be Marxist and that they deemed to be overtly sexual. And one of the first and most notorious.
The key words in that sentence being they deemed to be. And also, who cares if these books are Marxist or overtly sexual or whatever? Who cares? You're destroying information. Are you really so thick that you have not figured out that book burnings are a bad thing?
I'm dumber than a box of rocks in a lot of areas.
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate your input on the subject.
I've lived for the Lord my whole life, and I was dumb as a box of rocks and didn't know it.
I appreciate that, Shane. Very astute. Go on, Candace.
To be overtly sexual. And one of the first and most notorious book burnings was the student-led destruction of the library at the Institute for Sexual Research. That library was founded by a man named Magnus Hirschfeld, and he was...
Yes, Magnus Hirschfeld. Famously, I believe he was gay, and he was basically leading the charge to be open about being gay. Like, for a long, long time, it was unacceptable to be gay. And the post-World War I, pre-World War II Germany government was much more accepting of people's liberties to do what they wanted to do until Hitler came along, of course. And Magnus Hirschfeld founded this institute where he studied sexuality, studied being gay and being trans and all of it. Studied everything. He was, of course, not the first gay person to study this stuff or the only one. He probably isn't even the one that invented the term trans, which she's about to claim, by the way. But yeah, I mean, it was a what do you call it? Like, it was an institute, a center for education and learning where people discussed and learned and philosophized and whatever about sexuality. I don't know, like, what are you complaining about here? I'm sorry. She's not complaining. She's saying that it was a good thing that Hitler's, like, private army, the brown shirts, the Proud Boys of the day, burned this building and all of its contents to the ground.
Institute for Sexual Research. That library was founded by a man named Magnus Hirschfeld, and he was the guy who actually first coined the term transsexual.
Like, it cut off there. I don't know if that's even true. This is Magnus Hirschfeld, and he was gay. But Candace Owen certainly doesn't like him, huh? Not only does she not like Magnus Hirschfeld, but she just spent, 2 minutes telling us how the Nazis and the brown shirts did the right thing by burning his Center for Learning and Education to the ground and all of the information contained within. She literally just like justified parts of the Holocaust, the openings to the Holocaust, it seems to me. Can we call her a Nazi yet? Is that okay? Is that a step too far for me to do? Is it okay to call her a Nazi? I think so. I'm not trying to be this leftist meme where I call everybody a Nazi or whatever. I don't believe everybody's a Nazi. Lots of people, I don't believe like nearly anybody's a Nazi, but I think she is. And I certainly think Kanye West is. He claims to be. Check this one out. This one is Candace Owens in a completely backwards way, explaining why Hitler lost the war.
I actually don't have any problems at all with the word nationalism. I think that it gets, the definition gets poisoned.
Let's talk about nationalism for a second. There's a difference between nationalism and patriotism, okay? Patriotism is a love for one's country or city or state or whatever. I'm a patriot, actually, really. I am a patriot. I would fight for my country. I would fight for my city, New York City. I would fight for Manhattan. I would pick up a gun and I would put on some greaves and I'd go out there and I would fight to protect my family and my friends and my city. I would do it. I'm a patriot. But nationalism is different from patriotism in that you don't want your country to simply succeed like I do. I'm a patriot. I want my country to succeed. A nationalist wants their country to succeed and wants others to fail. They want others to cede to the will of their country as nationalists. Hitler was a nationalist. Basically, every dictator through history has been a nationalist. Nationalism is an extreme ideology that takes patriotism way, way, way further than it should ever be. Think people that have like literal like Jeeps that are completely painted like the flag, and they have like flag pins on everything and flag bumper stickers, and they get out of their car and they're wearing a flag bikini and a flag hat and, you know, all that stuff. Like that's, and the desire to see every other country fail. Canada sucks. Mexico sucks. Spain sucks. They all suck, and I hope they die. You know, that's nationalism, effectively. And famously, Hitler instituted nationalism. Okay, so she's saying she likes nationalism. She thinks it's a good thing. Go on.
I actually don't have any problems at all with the word nationalism. I think that it gets, the definition gets poisoned.
The definition gets poisoned. Okay, tell us the definition then.
By elitists that actually want globalism. Globalism is what I don't want. So when you think,
I guess globalism is she thinking like globalism is like the opposite of nationalism? Is that the implication here? I guess globalism is, what's globalism in her mind? The idea that we live on a planet with other people and we have to work with them and live with them and cooperate? Like, I have no clue what she's going on about. Like, what are you even complaining about?
Globalism is what I don't want. So when you think about, whenever we say nationalism, the first thing people think about, at least in America, is Hitler. You know, he was a National Socialist, but
that's what Nazi technically stood for, National Socialist. He was not a socialist. As a matter of fact, Hitler murdered socialists and anybody to the left of basically hunting the homeless for sport. Or in all seriousness, that's real. I'm not even being hyperbolic. Anybody to the left of hunting the homeless or the Jews for sport, he put in camps. The red triangle was political prisoners. The pink triangle was the LGBT community, I think. Purple triangle was Jehovah's Witnesses. Gold star was Jewish. I mean, he had a different symbol for everybody. Hitler may have called himself a National Socialist, but he was not a socialist at all. Owen is a proper patriot. The MAGA patriots try to muddy the waters. I appreciate that, Stampede. I feel that way. I'm very patriotic. I take it pretty seriously. I would do a lot to protect my family, to protect my home, to protect my city, my state, and my country. I do an awful lot. That's patriotism. MAGA they're not patriots. They're nationalists. They're extremists. Anyway, keep listening here. She's complaining about globalism or what was it? No, she's complaining about national socialists right now, isn't she? She's complaining about how Hitler was actually basically a communist, pretty much, right? It's so stupid. You know what? I'm not that guy. I'm not going to bag on people all the time. I'll let Greg Locke do it for me.
I'm dumber than a box of rocks in a lot of areas.
Thank you, Greg, for expressing the opinion for me so I don't have to.
Because Hitler, you know, he was a National Socialist, but if Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine. The problem is that he had dreams outside of Germany. He wanted to globalize. He wanted everybody to be German, everybody to be speaking German, everybody to look a different way. That's not, to me, that's not nationalism. So in thinking about how it could go bad down the line, I don't really...
Okay, so her complaint is that Hitler was a globalist in the sense that he wanted to take over the world by invading Poland and all of these other places, and by attempting to invade the USSR. That's globalism to you? What? I'm sorry. Like, I don't even know what she's talking about when she says globalism. I don't even have my own definition for globalism. I'm just going based off of what they're saying, and this makes no sense.
I don't really have an issue with nationalism. I really don't. I think that it's okay. It's important to retain your country's identity and to make sure that what's happening here, which I think is incredibly worrisome in terms of the decrease in the birth rate that we're seeing in the UK, is what you kind of want to avoid. So I don't have anything problem. I have no problems with nationalism. It's globalism that I try to avoid.
Wow. I have no problem with nationalism, i.e., what she just said was, I don't have a problem with what Hitler was doing in his country. I think she might have literally actually said that. I don't have a problem with what Hitler was doing in his country, i.e., the Jew hunt. Going around knocking on doors and finding Jews by having like lists, like birth records. They had lists of where they live and everything and their names. They found them. They told them to hold onto a rope. They walk the people that are holding onto the rope into the middle of the forest. They give them shovels and have them dig a ditch. It's about 6 feet deep. And they line up the first row of 10 or so. Tell them to turn around. And they pull their guns up. And they aim at the base of the skull. Not at the head, but the spine, basically. Because if you aim at the head, it's going to make a mess. You don't want a mess. If you aim at the spine, it kills them without making a mess. 10 or so people pull their guns out and pull the trigger and murder people. Very next, after doing that, after they're all dead, get 10 more. Line them up. Every single person. They all, and God help you if you get shot in the leg and you survive, or you get shot in the ear instead. And you die through like suffocation by like your grandparent, like your dead grandparent falling on top of you, and you just can't get up because like you've been wounded or whatever. That is what was happening in Germany in World War II, like before World War II, 1933 to 1945 is really when all of this is going down. Jew hunt started in 1939. I think, the official Jew hunt, where they said time to, they did what I just described. And then the death camps started, I believe, in 1942. But they were putting Jews in concentration camps long before that, like years before that. They just, they weren't killing them en masse yet. It took a little bit longer. Anyway, she was fine with all that. What I just told you, she's totally A-okay with it. She's good with it. That's not a problem for her, apparently. The problem is that Hitler tried to be a globalist and take over Poland. If he had just stayed in his own country, she'd be fine. she's kind of mixing up some talking points right now. There's a piece of Nazi propaganda, like modern Nazi propaganda, that basically says if Hitler just hadn't like left Germany, if he just stayed in Germany, decided to do his thing in Germany, kill Jews there, then nothing bad, like nobody would have come after him. That's what the modern day Nazis say. And that may be true. Maybe the world would sit there and look on as Hitler killed millions of Jews. That's very possible. I mean, the world looked on while millions of Tutsi were killed by Hutu in Rwanda. 100 days the world watched that genocide take place. But she's mixing it up. Like, that's the talking point. The talking point is if Hitler stayed in Germany instead of expanding, then the war wouldn't have happened. She's saying, I endorse Hitler doing what he did in his country, and I condemn him trying to spread out. Holy shit, dude. Is it really any wonder why Candace Owens was fired from the Daily Wire? Does anybody sit here wondering? You staying up at night thinking to yourself, I wonder why Candace Owens was fired from the Daily Wire. I don't know if Jeremy Boring is co-owner with Ben Shapiro. I think Jeremy Boring is also Jewish. Like more culturally than religious to my knowledge, but Jeremy Boring may not actually even be Jewish. I'm not sure. He may be from a Christian family. That's possible. But either way, Ben Shapiro is Jewish, and he was totally justified in firing Candace Owens. I can't believe that he didn't fire her sooner than he did. Honestly. Like, end the contract. Oh, and by the way, Ben, you ever wonder why your hosts turn out to be Nazis from time to time? Like literal Nazis? Is that weird to you? Have you mulled that over at all? I understand Ben Shapiro thinks like the greatest threat to Western civilization is the trans. I get that. Okay, great. You know that you are enabling and paying Nazis, right? You're literally helping the Nazi movement grow right now by paying people who are Nazis. Jesus, dude. All right, let's just read a little bit of this article. This is on a Washington Post. Candace Owens departs Ben Shapiro's website, which is the Daily Wire, after anti-Semitic commentary. She's usually more veiled than just coming out and saying, "Yeah, I don't like Jews." Though it wouldn't surprise me at all to find out she said that. Prominent right-wing commentator Candace Owens, I think they mean propagandist, but okay, commentator works too, has left the Daily Wire, the website founded by conservative commentator Ben Shapiro, after months of promoting anti-Semitic ideas. Yep, absolutely, she did. In a statement posted to social media Friday morning, Daily Wire CEO Jeremy Boring, as I said, he is, I think, a co-owner with Ben Shapiro, said that the company and the pundit have ended their relationship. Good. I hope it didn't cost you know what? I hope it did cost Ben Shapiro a lot of money. I hope it cost everybody a lot of money to get out of that contract. But it's good. I'm glad to find that Candace Owens has been removed. You know the saddest thing about this whole situation? I'm not even sure that it's the anti-Semitism that got her kicked out, truthfully. I think it might just be that she's just had, butted heads with Ben Shapiro a lot is all. And they're just buying her out of the contract now. That might be the extent of it. Like Elijah Schaffer, I don't know if you guys know who Elijah Schaffer is. Elijah Schaffer worked for The Blaze for a long time. It's Glenn Beck's version of the Daily Wire. And he has his own hosts and his own everything else. And Elijah Schaffer said some absolutely whacked out stuff, dude. Oh my God. Some of the stuff that Elijah Schaffer said was just wrong.
This is the most racist thing I'll say all podcast. People think that Australia is great because it's an all-white country. And it's just, that's the only reason why it's good. And you can say that.
People say that, did he say Canada is good because it's an all-white country and it's only good for that reason? Is that what you just said?
Say all podcast. People think that Australia is great because it's
Australia, sorry.
an all-white country, and it's just that's the only reason why it's good. And I don't. You can.
It's not an all-white country. There are natives that live there and take part in the government and everything. What?
Why it's good. And I don't. You can say that that's white supremacist. No, it's a homogenous group of people with less population than there is in California and a landmass bigger than the United States. They get along. They don't commit crime. They're clean, and they have a common group. Multiculturalism is gay. It sucks. It's stupid. It doesn't work. It never has worked. I'm sorry. It just doesn't. But
did this dude just use the word gay as an insult? That is like so 1997. Like, come back to this generation, bro. Well, this guy was removed from the Blaze shortly after an actual gay conservative, Herschel Walker's son, Chris Walker, I think is his name, credibly accused Elijah Schaffer of sleeping with one of his male friends at CPAC, I think. Now, they didn't list that as the reason why they fired Elijah Schaffer. I don't know what reason they had for canceling Elijah Schaffer's contract, but he said a lot of really bad stuff. Elijah Schaffer did, and they didn't do anything. I'm actually Native American. I don't know if you knew this. My birth certificate's incorrect. It says that I'm a lot more Native American than I am. It says I'm 1/2 Native American. That's inaccurate. It's less. It's probably closer to it's probably closer to an 1/8. But I am part of a tribe, the Mohegan tribe. I'm not actually signed up with the tribe, but I could because my family members are. And the whole nine. Like, I had dream catchers as a kid and everything. I don't know if you guys knew that about me, but yeah, I mean, I'm white passing. It doesn't really matter. But listen to this one from Elijah Schaffer. This is 2022, by the way. Early May 2022. So it was the last one. The last video was from, as a matter of fact, same time. Early May 2022.
yeah, Native Americans, get the out of America. You're on stolen land that you stole. And you want to know why Manifest Destiny happened? Do you know why we took it back? Because we couldn't live with you on the land because you guys kept declaring war on us and kept declaring war and trying to take back land that we already traded and or bought from you. And you did not understand property rights because you were savages. And that's why you got the name that you did. Unfortunately for you, that's what happened. So you know what? It's just true.
So the point here is that the things that Candace Owens said, the things that Elijah Schaffer said, were immaterial to their partnership with the Daily Wire or the Blaze or the whatever. It didn't matter what they said or did. They could say some real wild stuff and remain, part of the network or whatever. This is where I first heard of Elijah Schaffer, where he basically said that, like, he drew up like a leftist trope and said that I don't want you to vote. This is after Kari Lake lost the election to Katie Hobbs for Arizona governor.
Katie Hobbs is the projected winner. The race has been called by multiple sources as being completed. And the reason why it's been called is exactly what we've expected. And what Mark was saying was the fact that the races will always be called for the Democrat candidate when they've collected enough votes to win.
No, are you knock me over with a feather? Are you for real? Is this real or are you punking me right now? Election races will be called for the Democrat when the Democrat gets enough votes? Really? That's just too hard to believe, guys. I'm sorry. That's where I draw the line. I can't believe him there.
Candidate when they've collected enough votes to win. And in many of these states, there are theoretically more Democrat voters than Republicans. That's why our founding fathers did not set up our republic to be a pure democracy. They don't want stupid morons who haven't done in their life to be voting.
I guess that's me, right? I mean, I'm one of those aforementioned quote unquote stupid morons.
I'm dumber than a box of rocks in a lot of areas.
Yeah. Thank you, Greg, for your input on that. I'm one of those stupid morons who votes against Elijah Schaffer's wishes or whatever. I have a mind of my own. And yeah, the founding fathers did set up a representative democracy. Do you have any idea what would be involved in trying to set up a popular vote in 1790s, 1800? Do you know the logistics of that? They didn't even have a phone. They didn't even have, like, everything had to go by mail. Are you kidding? Of course, it was a representative democracy. For the record, the founding fathers, they did only want land-owning men to vote. That's true. And I don't want to go back to that. Apparently, this guy does. He thinks that women, don't deserve to have credit cards like they couldn't in the 70s? He doesn't think that women deserve the right to vote like they weren't allowed to in the 1920s? Like, I don't know. Is that the position he's espousing? Remember, guys, this isn't the thing that got him kicked off of Glenn Beck's network. He could say this stuff all day, every day, and people are fine with it. In my opinion, I think it was probably the gay accusation for this guy.
All this movement that the left uses, like on Instagram and Facebook, and go out and vote. No, don't vote, you idiot. Don't vote. You are stupid.
I'm dumber than a box of rocks in a lot of areas.
You are a degenerate piece of scum. Your existence is menial.
I've lived for the Lord my whole life, and I was dumb as a box of rocks and didn't know it.
In fact, God loves you. Most of us don't. Your own family doesn't support you very much because you're intolerable. Your views are not well thought out.
My views are very well thought out. Much more thought out than this guy. I guarantee it. That's basically what I do all day, every day. Sit here and philosophize, if you will. I think about my moral positions and ideals and beliefs and feelings on everything. My ideas are well thought out, and I am on the left. So I have no idea what he's talking about, but I think I'm going to defer to Greg on this one.
I'm dumber than a box of rocks in a lot of areas.
Thank you, Greg, for your input on that. I'm pretty confident that Greg is correct in his assessment in this one case.
It's not your SSRIs and your depression, your mental illness that is making you miserable. It's the fact that you don't live for anything. You stand for nothing.
No, I live for stuff. I stand for stuff. I have a family. I have a wife, a kid. I mean, I live in New York City. I have things going on. What are you talking about? It's like drawing this bizarre trope.
Anything, you stand for nothing, so everything gives you value. And you watch TikTok as a hobby.
I don't watch TikTok, but some people do, and that's okay. Yeah. It's a fun hobby, watching short videos. That's kind of fun, right?
Your life doesn't exist in any real substance. So no, you shouldn't vote.
Anyway, that's probably Elijah Schaffer's most famous clip. And what was it that got him fired from the Blaze? We don't actually know, because they don't make that public, but I would be willing to bet it was the gay stuff. What was it that got Candace Owens fired from the Daily Wire? We don't actually know exactly, I don't think, but it was almost certainly the fact that she wants Jews dead, or believes that Jews are like controlling everything or some other nonsense. The rumors are true. I am finally free, Owens said in her own post. Here's her twit post. The rumors are true. I'm finally free. If you'd like to support my work, you can head to blah, blah, blah. Okay, thank you. The details of Owens' exit weren't immediately clear, but it follows increased tension over anti-Semitic rhetoric that pitted Owens against Shapiro, who is Jewish, and the rest of the site's more mainline conservative figures. The Daily Wire didn't respond to a request for further comment. Owens couldn't be reached for an immediate comment. Yeah, they may have an NDA, like do not disclose clause in the contract after everything, so we may not ever get an answer to what the official reason was, why she was fired. Hell, maybe there is no official reason. Maybe there's a reason in Ben Shapiro's head, but he didn't put it on paper. Seems to me that it was probably that she wants him dead, though. That'd be my best guess. Tell me what you think in the comments. Next up, Let's talk about the never-ending fear campaign Republicans are running to keep the outrage machine churning. It's a fascinating process to watch and a valuable learning experience. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon and check out my website and email list for early access to uncensored, ad-free, complete videos. All links are in the description. This is Charlie Kirk. A lot of people probably heard of the guy. He was in conversation with this guy right here, Lance Wallnau. They're both Christian nationalists. Now, they kind of lay out their plan for the Republican Party, for lack of a better term, in this video. Just give this a listen for a second. You'll see what I'm talking about. This is from mid-March 2024 when this video came out. By the way, it's in reference, Charlie Kirk, here he's about to talk about the Super Bowl. It's in reference to a religious group running an ad during the Super Bowl to encourage love. It was like a Christian ad that said Jesus didn't hate anybody, he washed people's feet, or something to that effect. Basically saying stop hating people and stop using Christianity to justify that hate. That was a Super Bowl commercial, the premise. And Charlie Kirk was just pissed off by that, okay? And so is Lance Wallnau, both Christian nationalists.
Imagine if you were given $14 million to tell the world about Jesus.
That's what the Super Bowl ad cost.
I want to be positive. Let's just paint an alternative. What would you have done in a 1-minute Super Bowl ad in front of 100 million people?
I'm happy with what happened with the Christian ad for the Super Bowl. They made it clear that Jesus didn't hate anybody for anything. But what's Lance Wallnau's solution as a Christian nationalist?
Billy Graham had his biggest and greatest impact by warning America that nuclear holocaust was possible with Russia and atheistic communism would take America. He put the fear of God in people and said, and what will happen to you if America goes down? Is your soul right with God? I mean, boom, people came by the millions. And people forget it was fear that motivated them to repentance.
Oh, so you would scare the shit out of people. I see. That seems to be what it's all about. That seems to be the plan, as far as I can tell, right? Well, let's look at a couple of examples of what the fear tactics that they're using here. By the way, there's something called the 10 Stages to Genocide that I kind of want to compare this to. If you've never seen it before, I think I did a video on it a while back. Yeah, so just real fast, we're going to zip through the 10 stages just so we have a basis. Number 1, classification. Differences between people are not respected. There's a division of us and them, which can be carried out using stereotypes or excluding people who are perceived to be different. Does that sound familiar? Number 2, symbolization. This is a visual manifestation of hatred. Jews in Nazi Europe were forced to wear yellow stars to show that they were different. By the way, the Holocaust is not the only genocide that's happened. It's not even the most recent. The Rwandan genocide happened in 93, maybe, or something. There have been others. And, all of these steps hold true for all of it. Discrimination. The dominant group denies civil rights or even citizenship to identified groups. The 1935 Nuremberg laws stripped Jews of their German citizenship, made it illegal for them to do many jobs or to marry German non-Jews. Number 4, dehumanization. I mean, this is heavily focused on the Holocaust, but again, there were other genocides. Dehumanization, those perceived as different or treated with no form of human right or personal dignity. During the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda, here you go, mention of Tutsis. Tutsis were referred to as cockroaches. The Nazis referred to Jews as vermin. Donald Trump has also referred to his political enemies as vermin and claimed that immigrants are, quote unquote, poisoning the blood of America. By the way, direct quote from Hitler. I'm just putting it out there. Direct quote from Hitler. Number 5, organization. Genocides are always planned, so they have a plan. Regimes of hatred often train those who go on to carry out the destruction of a people. So they have a plan for how this is going to play out. Number 6, polarization. Propaganda begins to spread by hate groups. Nazis used the newspaper Der Stürmer to spread and incite messages of hate about Jewish people. Number 7, preparation. Perpetrators plan the genocide. They often use euphemisms such as Nazis' phrase, the final solution, to cloak their intentions. They create fear of the victim group, building up armies and weapons. Number 8, persecution. Victims are identified because of their ethnicity or religion or whatever, billion different things that they could be identified and persecuted over. And death lists are drawn up. People are sometimes segregated into ghettos, deported, or starved, and property is often expropriated. Genocidal massacres begin. 9, extermination. The hate group murders their identified victims in a deliberate and systematic campaign of violence. Millions of lives have been destroyed or changed beyond recognition through genocide. I would go as far as say at least hundreds of millions. I would say hundreds of millions of lives minimum have been affected. Not necessarily ended through genocide, but, you know, someone has lost somebody because of this thing. Hell, I might even go to 1 billion. I don't know. I have to think about it. And then the final stage, denial. The perpetrators or later generations deny the existence of any crime. I just wanted you guys to be like familiarized with them real quick in case you didn't see my video on it or whatever. Just so you have an idea of it. And just keep a lookout for any of the signs, the stages or whatever. So he says he wants to scare the holy bejesus out of everybody, right? Lance Wallnau did. Listen to this clip. This is Eric Metaxas. If you don't know him, your grandpa probably does. He's a very famous radio host. I think he does his radio show every day from the Empire State Building. He's talking to a woman about Biden. Now, tell me if you recognize any speech that sounds like genocidal language in what he says, okay?
I'm sorry that we have to talk about the State of the Union.
Yeah, Joe Biden had done the State of the Union not too long ago when this clip came out, and he did a good job with it.
The satanic speech given by the, I don't know, what's a generous term I can use?
Satanic speech.
Puppet of the devil, Joe Biden. You know, we have to joke around because it's so dark, and it is undeniably dark. It's just undeniable. There's no other word. This man is wicked.
Yes.
There's an absolutely horrifying malevolence. And so, yeah, people dismiss him as doddering Joe. He's not that bright, whatever. Well,
right.
You know, it's kind of like saying a Gila monster or a cobra is stupid. Yeah, they're stupid and very, very, very dangerous. They can kill you. And that.
I mean, is any of this sounding familiar at all? I mean, forget the genocide list, but this is starting to sound a lot like the fear campaign that Lance Wallnau was talking about, right? This is absolutely part of the fear campaign, the whole thing.
That's what we're dealing with in Joe Biden. He is absolutely destructive, evil, and that's why it's hard for me to even watch him, because it's just the level of lying. I have never in my life seen anything approach it. Nothing to approach it.
Really? This guy has watched Trump's State of the Union addresses, and he says he's never seen lying to the degree that he saw in Biden's State of the Union. You're joking. You must be joking. Unfortunately, he's not joking. He's deadly serious with this. Here's another clip of Lance Wallnau. You remember? Fear guy. Want to ramp up fear, get people whipped into a blood frenzy and freaked out, convinced that they're next, they're going to die, they're going to... nuclear bombs are going to be dropped on them by communist, atheists, whatever. I mean, add adjective here. Communist, atheist, socialist, whatevers. Listen to what Lance Wallnau says in this one.
You see, the left
is loaded with demons. And those demons project on everyone else what they secretly are all about. I don't think it's people anymore. I think you're dealing with demons talking through people. You look at those old speeches at Nuremberg, or you look at those Hitler rallies, and what you see is that Satan, by the spirit of Antichrist, is it's like what does it say? It's a mouth that speaks great and swelling words. So you're going to see, just remember this, Christian, that you're going to listen to demons talking through people in order to create an incendiary landscape.
So what he's doing here is he's trying to use fear to scare the holy bejesus out of Christians and prevent them from like even listening to what somebody to the left of hunting the homeless for sport has to say. Instantaneously, if you're Christian, you shouldn't be listening to what someone on the left is saying. Only listen to Lance Wallnau or Charlie Kirk or, you know, anybody else. Like, even the people on the right who like to quote Nazi propaganda. Charlie Kirk does that. He quotes Nazi propaganda too. Eric Metaxas, dude that we addressed earlier. I mean, this is all part of the fear campaign, by the way. Like I laid out earlier, the stages of a genocide, like this is all part of the deal, part of the package. Lance Wallnau in the beginning said that he intended to ramp up fear and get people all freaked out and convinced that they're next or some other thing, right? This is John Zimmerack. He guest appeared or whatever on Eric Metaxas's radio show not too long ago. When did this clip come out? This is mid-September 2022 is when this came out. Listen to this one.
When the Nazis attacked Jewish stores and got away with it, that told people persecution, real genocidal persecution is down the road. Right now in America, our government and the leftist institutions that support it, from the Ivy League to large numbers of churches, to the mainstream of the Republican Party, which supports it by being afraid to fight it, it's reminding me of the buildup in the 1990s in Rwanda, the buildup towards genocide. The Hutus were the majority, but they didn't.
Okay, before we listen to his ridiculous history lesson on this, I'm just going to give a super basic, straightforward explanation of what actually happened in Rwanda. When there was a period of time when the British were like colonizing everything that had the world's strongest navy, 16, 17, 1800, somewhere in there. They were battling. They were rivaling France and Battle of Waterloo, so on and so forth. The British were trying to colonize areas. They were settling there. They were, bringing people in, and they were building settlements, and they were trading and taking the natural resources from the area, bringing them back to Britain, that kind of deal, right? They were colonizers. And they colonized Rwanda. Rwanda, at the time, I think it still does, it had 3 tribes of people there. There were the Hutu tribe, the Tutsi tribe, and there's the Twa tribe, I believe is how it's pronounced. Yeah, Twa. Twa is the 3rd tribe, okay? To my knowledge, there were much fewer Tutsi tribe members than Hutu by a factor of 10. So there were 10% of the population was Tutsi and 90% was Hutu, I believe. And the Tutsi, they were all brothers, like they're exactly the same in every way. But the British separated them into lighter skin and darker skin. If you look at a picture of a Tutsi and a Hutu next to each other, you can't even tell a difference. They look exactly the same. Anyway, the British who colonized the area decided to give the Tutsi authority over the Hutu and over a variety of different things. They gave them power in the country. They put them in charge of various different things, let them run certain government programs and stuff. The Hutu were banned from being involved in government at all. They were second-class citizens. They weren't allowed to own land in some cases. They were only allowed to do certain types of jobs, certain things, and they were poor by design. The Hutu were terribly mistreated intentionally by the British and by the Tutsi. Now, before the British came along and, threw a wrench into everything, things were kind of going along fine by and large. The Twa were uninvolved. They lived in the jungle areas and they didn't get involved in politics at all. They were just totally outside of everything. Anyway, the Hutu, being the second-class citizens that they were kind of pissed off by that whole thing and started working themselves up into a blood frenzy. They had some radio shows and they were talking about the evil Hutu, and they were sick of them doing this and that, and they hated that they were treated so badly, and they started calling the Tutsi cockroaches and vermin and all that other stuff, the stages of genocide. I went through them. All of these stages applied. Every last one of them. It was all to a T. How the Rwandan genocide played out. Until one day, I forget what happened. An airplane was shot down and it had the president on board. I'm not sure who the president was. I don't remember who took responsibility for it or if anybody did or what, but that was kind of the signal. The Hutu radio show hosts went on air and said, "It's time to cut the tall trees." Tall trees, of course, being Tutsi, because the Tutsi were differentiated by the British by the fact that they were just like a little bit taller than the Hutu. Such a stupid thing to separate people by, honestly. Race is a complete fabrication. I'm sure most people have probably heard that before, but there is no race. That's like an old 1900s thing that you would read in an old history book that we would be embarrassed to read today. Just the idea of race doesn't exist. There's one race. There's the human race. There are ethnicities and there are countries of origin and there are different levels of melanin, but we're all humans. There's no race. One more thing about the Tutsi and the Hutu before we continue with Zimarak's backwards explanation. There was no mercy. There was no mercy, and it was horrific and ugly and disturbing and sad and wrong. The Hutu broke into or forced their way into the government buildings, and of course they were forced to put on their IDs what tribe they were from, Hutu or Tutsi. So they broke into or barged their way into the government, the British office. British people, by the way, by this point, they just pulled out. Look, we're done. Goodbye. Walked into the building, and wouldn't you know it, they had a nice, clean list of where to find all of the Tutsi and who they were. So the Hutu, being kind of impoverished, second-class citizens, didn't have as much money as the other, the British or the Tutsi or whatever. They couldn't really afford ammunition. So they literally went house to house to house and cut people's heads off with machetes, slashed at them until they were dead because they couldn't afford bullets. They didn't have the money for it. And they gave some Tutsis, some Hutu gave some Tutsi the option of buying a bullet that could be used against them. You want me to use a bullet on you? You got to give me $20 or something instead, and I'll use the gun instead of the machete. There was a church nearby in one case where a Hutu priest was shuttling Tutsi into the church and putting them under the floorboards and everything, trying to hide them, and just earning their trust and doing everything he could to help. And he walked out of the church and locked the door and lit the church on fire. And as the Tutsi jumped out the windows to escape, there were Hutu standing there waiting with guns to pick them off as they came out. I really want to draw a picture of this genocide and what happened. It was ugly. And you know what happened? The world watched on for 100 days. 100 days. That's 3.5 months. The United States watched as this happened, as the Holocaust 2.0 took place. Tutsi eventually, some from the Tutsi tribe eventually finally kind of escaped the country and formed into a militia and got weapons and swept their way through Rwanda. Interestingly, they were called Rwandan Patriots Front. Today we have a right-wing extremist group called Patriots Front who produces right-wing extremist propaganda about, loving America and hating leftists or whatever. I mean, it's all history repeats. History repeats. It always repeats. Always has. Always will. This is American Patriot Front's recruitment video. Just a few seconds of it. We won't allow our country to be destroyed by bureaucrats and suited criminals. I mean, that's something that pretty much everybody can agree with, right? Unfortunately, it takes like this much digging to find out that these people are literal Nazis, like actual real Nazis that love Hitler and everything. Psychotic. Anyway, back to the Tutsi and the Hutu. The Rwandan Patriots Front swept through Rwanda and restored order, and yeah, the rest is history. But the fighting that's happening in the Congo right now, for example, a lot of the fighting that's taking place in various different African countries, war-torn areas, it's because of that genocide. A lot of it is. Some of it, at the very least. Okay? That's what happened. Now, let's listen to this guy tell us about the Rwandan genocide like he was there.
I'm dumber than a box of rocks in a lot of areas.
I know, Greg. Just calm down. Don't jump the gun, Greg. Let's just listen to what he has to say first.
Up towards genocide. The Hutus were the majority, but they weren't as wealthy or successful as the minority Tutsis.
Tutsis. I thought that was a movie, not a tribe. Tutsi, Tutsi. Aside from that, not as wealthy or successful? Okay, the Hutu weren't as successful as the Tutsi because they were second-class citizens. I just want to be clear about this. I have no dog in this fight. I don't want anybody to die. Straight up, nobody. I don't want the Tutsi to die. I don't want the Hutu to die. I don't want the Twa to die. And honestly, truthfully, to be perfectly frank, I don't even want the British guys that saw that coming and said, okay, goodbye, and decided to get on their little ship and float their little way back to Britain. I don't even want them to die. I don't want anyone dead. Anyway, so this guy talking about the Tutsis and how the Hutu were not as successful as them. What just a fucked up thing to say, right? But okay, I'm not going to bother. I've said it once, I'll say it again.
I'm dumber than a box of rocks in a lot of areas.
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate it. Let's keep listening.
Majority, but they weren't as wealthy or successful as the minority Tutsis. So they resented them. They wanted their stuff. They wanted their power. They wanted their money. And they started demonizing the Tutsis, calling them cockroaches.
Does he think that's what it was about? So just to kind of draw a parallel here, he's kind of drawing a parallel between the Hutu and the Tutsi in Rwanda to America, like what would the parallel be? It has less, like way less generational wealth compared to the white community. None, pretty much. Nearly none. So in an American sense, I guess you could say that this guy is saying 90% of America, immigrants and anybody, black people, anyone who is impoverished, they just want the things that Jeff Bezos has selfishly and for no reason at all. And that's why they want to commit a genocide against, billionaires, because they just want their things. That's kind of the parallel that he's drawing here, okay? It's clear to me that he lost the plot, doesn't understand the first thing about why the Rwandan genocide happened. But okay, let's continue.
They started demonizing the Tutsis, calling them cockroaches on radio shows.
That's true.
News hosts would refer to Tutsi cockroaches.
Yes.
The way I see people talking about white people, about Christians, about so-called Christian nationalists.
Oh my God, yes. Christians and white people are so mistreated in the United States. They are so oppressed, just like the Tutsi who were killed, who were, a genocide was committed against the Tutsi in Rwanda in the early 90s. Just like that, white Christians are being treated just like that, and for the same reasons, right? Right, John? Is that what you're saying?
They talk about us the same way.
Okay, John, I want to interrupt. I wrote an article, folks. I think it was back in April or May. It was published.
Anyway, he's just advertising his stuff. The point is, they ramp up the fear campaign as much as they possibly can. They want you, well, not you, but they want like Christian extremists. Really, they just want Christians, any Christians that they can possibly get, to be whipped into a blood frenzy and ready to do whatever. Ready to go house to house with a machete if that's what it takes to protect themselves. Just disgusting, dude. Disgusting. If you remember, at the very beginning of this, Lance Wallnau, Christian nationalist, was asked, what would you do with the money, with $14 million, if you had the opportunity to do a Super Bowl ad?
Billy Graham had his biggest and greatest impact by warning America that nuclear holocaust was possible with Russia and atheistic communism would take America. He put the fear of God in people and said, and what will happen to you if America goes down? Is your soul right with God? I mean, boom, people came by the millions, and people forget it was fear that motivated them to repentance.
That's the plan. That's been the plan all along. Scare the shit out of everybody you possibly can. Convince them that they're a victim of anything, whatever it takes. In this case, John Zimmerak and Eric Metaxas are trying to convince white Christians, that's who they named specifically, white Christians. They're trying to convince them that they are the victims in this whole equation, and it's leading to a genocide of white Christians. Whatever they can do to whip people into a blood frenzy. Now listen to this one. Again, John Zimmerak on Eric Metaxas, kind of laying it out for us. You remember the 10 stages of genocide, right? Keeping those in mind this whole time? Dehumanization, number 4. Those perceived as different are treated with no form of human rights or personal dignity. During the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda, Tutsis were referred to as cockroaches. The Nazis referred to Jews as vermin, right? Now listen to John Zimmerak again on Eric Metaxas' show. This time it's mid-August 2022. The last one was mid-September 2022.
This is spiritual warfare, and we are now in the Normandy landing of spiritual warfare. The Democratic Party is possessed by preternatural evil. It is not a human institution anymore. It is an instrument of wicked spirits. This is demonic. Our enemies are demonic. There's no turning the other cheek.
There's no literally, you can't follow Jesus' command, is what you're telling me? Jesus told you to turn the other cheek, and you're saying, I can't. What is this guy thinking? I'll tell you what I would be thinking in his position, just hypothetically speaking. Say, I'm a white Christian, and let's say, for the sake of argument, there really is there's a genocide brewing against me or whatever. There's no turning the other cheek. Well, guess what? Jesus told me to turn the other cheek. That was one of his commands. So you know what I'd do? I'd turn the other cheek. And if I'm genocided, I'm genocided. The genociders will be sent to hell, and I'll be sent to heaven to live happily forever. Right? You have nothing to worry about if you're on Jesus' side. This guy's literally saying, Jesus, who gives a shit about what he was saying? We can't do what Jesus was saying. It was a pipe dream. Jesus he thought that you could do this. You can't. God himself was not aware of what would happen in the future, apparently. So when he said, turn the other cheek, he was just wrong. And I'm not going to do that. Okay. Well, let's see if this guy goes to heaven or hell.
These are demonic. There's no turning the other cheek. There's no being winsome. There's no compromise possible with these people.
And I want to be...
There's no compromise possible with these people. In all seriousness, what John Zimmerak is doing right now and what he did in the previous video that we watched a minute ago, that is actually the lead up to a genocide. Like, actually the lead up. And who's the genocide against? Anybody to the left of hunting the homeless for sport. Black people, immigrants, Democrats, people on the left, anybody that's pro-Palestine, anybody that's pro-abortion or anti-gun or whatever. Those people that I listed, they're the first ones to go. They're on his list. As he cries persecution, he is literally whipping people into a blood frenzy to a degree that they might be willing to actually carry out what he's describing.
No being winsome. There's no compromise possible with these people.
And I want to be clear, just theologically, because in the past, if you don't clarify these things, people misinterpret them. Well, folks, we're not saying that these people are demons. We're saying that they're being...
Well, no, that's literally exactly what Eric Metaxas said, actually, earlier in another video, right?
They're being used by demons, and we need to understand that at the heart of all this, this is a spiritual battle. There's no other way to make sense of it. If you're solving for X, if you know how to do algebra, you solve for X, you don't even need to believe in God.
Well, what if some Christians don't know how to do algebra?
I'm dumber than a box of rocks in a lot of areas. Facebook just makes people think I'm smart.
Okay, don't discriminate against Christians if they're not capable of doing algebra.
I've lived for the Lord my whole life, and I was dumb as a box of rocks and didn't know it.
No, I'm kidding. So he's saying, if you know basic algebra, solve for X. You don't need to believe in God. This will make you believe in God, okay? Go on.
Is a spiritual battle. There's no other way to make sense of it. If you're solving for X, if you know how to do algebra, you solve for X, you don't even need to believe in God. This will make you believe in God. This will make you understand. When you look at this, you say, there is no other possible explanation. If I connect all the dots, it doesn't make any sense. Greed, politics, nothing could account for what we're seeing except something genuinely spiritually dark and wicked.
I don't even understand what he's going on about right now. I mean, he was trying to straighten things out theologically, so it was a theological distinction. He was not disagreeing with what John Zimmerak said. Fundamentally, he does agree with Zimmerak here. He's saying, yes, they are, a demonic entity. Yes, they are. There is no turning the other cheek. It's time to get violent, effectively, right? That's the result of a fear campaign, the likes of which Lance Wallnau wants to enact.
What will happen to you if America goes down? Is your soul right with God? I mean, boom, people came by the millions. And people forget it was fear that motivated them to repentance.
Insane. Absolutely insane, dude. For the record, I don't want you to like feel down about this stuff. I'm showing you the craziest of the crazy. Most people, the vast majority of people in the United States are not like this. I'm showing you Lance Wallnau, one of the most extreme people there is. You know, I'm showing you John Zimrak, somebody who's literally trying to commit genocide. Most people aren't doing that. So I don't want you to feel down like, oh, this is hopeless. Oh, people are planning this thing or that thing. I don't want you to feel that way. At the end of the day, you know, these people do have a movement, and there are some of them, and we need to be aware of them, for sure. But their position, ultimately, as conservatives, is to maintain a traditionalist lifestyle, maintain traditional values, right? That's a losing position. They're going to lose. Society progresses. Society changes. Always has, always will. These people will lose, and they know that, and they're fighting it and screaming and crying about it and doing everything they can to stop it. That's the bottom line. They just don't want to be the losers in this scenario. Unfortunately, they are. Well, unfortunately for them. So I don't want you to feel too down about what we're talking about tonight. These people are the losers. As Arnold Schwarzenegger said, they're the losers. Don't be a loser. And also, don't worry about the losers. Okay? Some of the stuff I talk about really freaks people out. I don't want you to walk away from this freaked out. I don't want you to walk away from this wringing your hands, worried that these people might take control of this or that or whatever. Don't worry about it. We've got people working on these types of problems to stop stuff like this. When I say we, I mean anybody on the media arm of the atheist movement or even the secularist movement, talking YouTubers or independent media of any sort. Hell, even, CNN to some degree, MSNBC, the media arm is working against this type of thing. And on the ground, we have organizations that are fighting. We have organizations that are helping people run for office and stuff, you know? We have American Atheists. We have FFRF. We have a whole bunch of groups. The ACLU and a whole bunch of others. It might feel hopeless. It might feel like we're losing. But these people, it's kind of like the death throes of a dying organization. They're doing everything that they can to take control because they know that their ideas are unpopular. So don't walk away from this video feeling down. There's no reason for it. Just recognize that these people are complete nutcases and would commit genocide if given the opportunity. Keep that in the back of your head. And tell me what you think about it in the comments. Next up, Marjorie Taylor Greene just tried to kick Mike Johnson out as Speaker of the House. I love everything about it. The Republicans are causing never-ending chaos for each other, and I am eating it up. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon, and check out my website and email list for early access to uncensored, ad-free, complete videos. All links are in the description. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm sure most people already know who she is. She's done something really, really interesting recently, so I wanted to talk about it. This is a complicated way to start. Let me just try to put it in basic terms. It's very, very simple to basically vacate a Speaker of the House and have a new vote for a new Speaker, because of the rules set up by the Republicans, who technically control the House of Representatives right now federally. It's super simple to do. Basically, anybody can bring it to a vote, can kick the current guy out and bring in a new guy, or vote on a new guy anyway. The last time they did that, it was Matt Gaetz. He was the one that kicked Kevin McCarthy out of the Speaker role. And Marjorie Taylor Greene just filed papers to kick out The next Speaker of the House, it took them, oh my God, I don't know, what was it, like 20 days or like 3 weeks or something to finally get a guy in. And the guy that they got in after McCarthy is this guy right here, Mike Johnson. We're going to talk about him in a second, but Marjorie Taylor Greene filed the papers for real to vacate the speakership role and take a revote. Again, like, I don't know what she's thinking. I don't know how she thinks that this is going to benefit anybody or anything. And truthfully, Mike Johnson believes all the same garbage that she does. He was exactly perfect. What is she doing? What is going on right now? Why is she doing this? Let's talk about it. Okay, so this is an AP article on it. Speaker Mike Johnson faces threat of ouster from Republican Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. Let me see.
Yep.
Why did you file a motion to vacate?
Today I filed a motion to vacate after Speaker Johnson has betrayed our conference and broken our rules.
Dude, he did what? How?
We were promised regular order. That's what our conference had started out as, with rules and promises to the American people that we would bring regular order back to Congress.
Dude, what the hell is she even talking about right now?
Speaker Johnson has betrayed that by passing 3 CRs and then forcing us to pass or to vote on a 2-part omnibus, the second one being today. This is a
An omnibus, if you're unfamiliar, like with politics or whatever, it's a bill that has like multiple things in it. Like a lot of the time people use omnibus bills to slip in stuff that doesn't belong there. Like they'll have a highway bill to repair, interstate highways at certain times. And it'll also contain aid for Israel or whatever, that's an omnibus bill. I'm actually opposed to omnibus bills. In my opinion, bills should contain exactly what they contain and nothing, like exactly what they're about and nothing more. But I don't know. I could be convinced otherwise. I just have to give it some thought, I guess.
I do not wish to inflict pain on our conference.
Too late.
And to throw the House in chaos.
Ooh, boy. You didn't mean to do that? Oops. Just picked a whole bouquet of oopsie daisies there, didn't you?
But this is basically a warning, and it's time for us to go through the process, take our time, and find a new Speaker of the House that will stand with Republicans and our Republican majority instead of standing with the Democrats.
Wow, Mike Johnson stands with the Democrats, huh? Wow, man. So Marjorie Taylor Greene filed papers to vacate Mike Johnson. Who the hell is this Mike Johnson guy then? Let's talk about him. This video is actually from like very early on in his tenure as Speaker. He's insane. He's a Christian nationalist. He believes the government should be run by Christians and only Christians, nobody else. So Fox News Sunday, I guess, gets him on. This is from November 5th, 2023. He goes on Fox News to talk about his positions on things. He was pushed through pretty quickly, by the way. Like, nobody even expected him to become... No one ever even, thought that he was a candidate to be the Speaker of the House, and all of a sudden, boom, he's a candidate. Or boom, he's the Speaker of the House. It was very sudden and surprising. Anyway, listen to his position on some of these things.
I want to talk about some social issues. You've got a lot of critics who say that you are wildly out of step with the American people. Let's talk abortion first. One of the
Oh, he is very out of step, yes.
groups opposing you says this. He wants a total abortion ban with no exceptions. He supported bans that would not only criminalize abortion, but ban IVF treatments and common forms of birth control.
That's true. That is true. And we're seeing that now. I mean, that's obvious now, right? Everybody knows that now. He's a Christian nationalist, and the Christian nationalist plan or agenda or whatever you want to call it is to ban in vitro fertilization. IVF treatments help people who want to get pregnant have a baby who couldn't otherwise get pregnant because their body just, it doesn't work for one reason or another. I think, what was it? Alabama, I think? The Alabama Supreme Court, the Chief Justice went on a QAnon TV show. I covered the whole thing with Johnny Enlow, talked about All of it. It was nuts, dude. The whole thing is nuts. I think it was Alabama banned IVF. And they want to ban common forms of birth control. Yeah, that's well known. That's well established. Like everybody knows they want to ban birth control. Is that up for debate? Or does somebody like not know that? This is a Trump candidate who, Trump endorsed candidate. She lost eventually. She was running in Michigan. But yeah, this was from 2022. It was mid-May. She goes on this guy's TV show to talk about her positions. Just listen.
You're a faithful Catholic, meaning you believe everything the church teaches?
Yes.
Everything?
Yes.
Everything?
Yes.
So you are...
that's the candidate.
You see that the use of contraception is against natural moral law?
Yes.
Is destructive, a doorway to abortion, blah, blah, and all that.
Like, what is he even... What?
And everything else.
Yes.
You see the whole... Everything going on with Roe, for example, right now, and all the...
Yeah, Roe v. Wade had just been overturned, or was about to be.
For example, right now, and all the left, becoming completely uncorked, losing their minds.
I mean, yeah, I'm not really happy about it, but okay.
Corked, losing their minds. The question, they're saying they're coming after your gay marriage next. They're coming after your birth control after that and everything else. Well, you know what? Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes. So we need to make a plain statement of fact, which is the reason why the West is great is because Western civilization's underpinning is Christianity.
Holy Christ on a cracker, dude. These people need help, seriously. So Tom Parker did an interview with a QAnoner, Johnny Enlow, and we talked about it on stream like not that long ago. It's on my Owen Unfiltered YouTube channel if you want to watch it. We listened to the whole thing. And Tom Parker here on the left, this is the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Alabama. He's the one that banned IVF treatments in Alabama. And he explains how he legally discriminates against people to pad his staff with Christian nationalists and Christian nationalists only. The answer is complicated, but basically boils down to there was a guy named Blackstone. Blackstone. He was a philosopher that was active from like 1760 to 1780 or something like that. And he wrote about how he thought government should operate and so on and so forth. There doesn't seem to be any evidence to indicate that the Founding Fathers used any of his writings to write the Constitution. He's really very irrelevant to the United States. He was a British philosopher, a British lawyer or whatever. And he wrote about things in Britain, not the United States. So Tom Parker, in this video, this big long interview he did with his QAnoner, he outlines how he discriminates legally. The way is basically he only picks staff members from schools who have a school about Blackwell. Or I'm sorry, he only picks from schools who have a class about this Blackwell guy. Normal law schools don't give a shit about Blackwell because he's completely irrelevant to anything. But Christian nationalists schools, they've chosen to create classes that talk about Blackwell and the things that he wrote down, basically. So he goes to the deans of these schools that teach classes on Blackwell or whatever, and he says to the dean, hey, can you give me some names of people? I don't even want to interview them. Just tell me who you think I should hire. And the deans pick the most conservative extremist nutcases and send them to this guy's staff. That's how they're doing their discrimination legally. But anyway, the point here is that all this stuff has been on the table for like a long time. Yeah, IVF treatments are like under attack right now. Yes, they banned them in Alabama. Yes, certain common forms of birth control are being targeted. Absolutely. I mean, these are all things that that Mike Johnson has voted against. So we know what Mike Johnson's positions are on these things. If he says no to any of this, if he says, no, I don't believe that, he's lying. He voted this way. Okay? Let's keep listening.
Ban IVF treatments and common forms of birth control. And
By the way, that's a very Christian nationalist position. Like, no one else agrees with that except Christian nationalists, which make up a very small portion of the country. 15% max, I'd say. Maybe 20. 80% of the country wants IVF available for people.
you voted against access to contraception. Where are you on these issues? Is that an accurate assessment of where you are? Because that's not in step with the American people.
No, it's not.
No, Shannon, look, I'm pro-life. I've said very clearly I'm a Bible-believing Christian. I believe in the sanctity of every single human life. So I come to Congress with deep, personally held convictions. But guess what? So do my 434 other colleagues in the House.
Sure, yeah, okay, great. You come to Congress with deeply held beliefs. Fine. All right. Those deeply held beliefs just so happen to be completely out of step with the American people. Nobody wants IVF banned, except for your crazy ass. Nobody wants contraception banned. What? Yeah, you have all of these deeply held beliefs that are completely contrary to what anybody else wants. And he's the Speaker of the House. Third in line to be president. This guy is right now.
With their deeply held convictions. But the process here is that you make law by consensus. And I've not brought forward any measure to address any of those issues. Right now, our priorities are...
Okay, you haven't brought those forward, but those are happening right now. All of those things are taking place in America, and he supports it.
Funding the government, handling these massive national security priorities that we have and crises around the globe, and taking care of changing and reforming how Congress works. That's what we're going to do. Listen, prior to the modern time, I mean, until recently, actually, almost all of our nation's leaders openly acknowledged that they were also Bible-believing Christians. I mean, this is not...
I mean, is there anybody in Congress that doesn't acknowledge that they're Bible-believing Christians? What's the percentage? I know we have Ilhan Omar. She's in Congress, right? And she's a Muslim. Okay, the religious composition of the 117th Congress. This is on pewresearch.org. Very trustworthy. Since I've been writing my book, Understanding Jehovah's Witnesses, you can find it at owenmorgan.com/book in the description, by the way. But since I was writing the book, I actually have an extension, like a Chrome extension, that lets me see how valid a source is, if it's trustworthy or if it's whatever, funny enough. And it lets me get like an MLA format. Like I can grab the citation in MLA format with like the click of a button. Oh my God, it's so convenient. I love it. It's right here. This source is probably credible. I mean, I don't always trust it. I do my own vetting, but then I have it set to MLA 9, modern language, whatever. So just click to copy, and I can paste it anywhere, and boom, just like that. It's super convenient. Anyway, sorry, a little aside there. When it comes to religious affiliation, the 117th U.S. Congress looks similar to the previous Congress, but quite different from Americans overall. So here's what it looks like. There are 538 representatives total, I believe. 538. And there are 2 senators per state. Yeah, 2 senators per state, which means 100 senators. So there are 438 congressmen, like House of Representatives members total, I believe. House has 435 members. Number representing each state is determined by population. So have they changed it then? I guess they've changed. I guess they gerrymandered and decreased the number of districts by 3. Is that what happened? Because I remember when it was 438 anyway. So of those 435, I guess 400 no, okay. So I guess we're counting all of them. 535 members of Congress total, including senators. Of those 535, 468 are Christian. 88.1% are Christian, as opposed to 65% of U.S. adults. Next highest percentage is Jewish. There are 33 Jewish members of Congress, Senate or House of Representatives, 33. and that makes up 6.2% of the population of Congress. They're Jews. Only 2% of the country is Jewish. Then we've got between 1 and 3 people who are Buddhist, Muslim, Hindu, Unitarian, Universalist, or unaffiliated, or other, or don't know or refused. 18 of them apparently don't know or refuse to answer, interestingly. So anyway, yeah, like basically everybody in Congress is Christian, a Bible-believing Christian, self-avowed, yes, I love Jesus, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what the hell this dude's even talking about right now.
Till recently, actually, almost all of our nation's leaders openly acknowledged that they were also Bible-believing Christians.
Almost all? I mean, they still do that, except for the Jewish ones.
I mean, this is not something that should cause great unrest, okay? It's just that Washington right now, what you're seeing, Washington and the Associated Press Corps are engaging with a leader who openly acknowledges faith and the foundational principles of our country.
Okay,
I think this is...
Okay, it's a little bit more than just openly acknowledging your faith. Slightly more, I would say. When you're saying things like you want to ban IVF, you want to ban abortion federally, you want to institute a Christian nationalist government, you believe that you're Moses. Yes, he said that. Well, you know, metaphorically, you are the Moses of the modern day. Yes, he said that, and I have it on video, and if we have time, I might even play it in a second. That's a little beyond just admitting that you like the Bible.
It's a healthy discussion, but it doesn't affect how we run Congress.
To be clear, though, have you voted against fertility treatments and access to contraception? Would you?
I don't think so. I'm not sure what they're talking about. I really...
Really? I'm not sure what they're talking about. Don't know. Have no idea. Completely in the dark. Don't remember what I voted for. I have no moral convictions on this issue whatsoever. I have some on literally everything else, but this one issue, contraception and IVF, haven't thought about it. Know nothing about it. Haven't put any serious thought into it. Have no idea. I bet. Yeah. Dude has no clue how he feels about this thing. Speaker of the House has no idea what he thinks.
I really don't remember any of those
But
measures,
do you oppose anything
I am personally
with IVF?
pro-life, yeah.
I'm personally pro-life. That means he is opposed to IVF treatments, and he's opposed to contraception.
No.
Just dead silence. I love it.
I am personally pro-life, yeah. No, of course not. No, that's...
Hang on, I'm sorry. Let's see if we can understand what she said.
What they're talking about. I really don't remember any of those measures.
But do you oppose anything
I am personally
with IVF?
pro-life, yeah.
But do you oppose any...
I am personally pro-life, yeah.
Oh, but do you oppose IVF? Okay, that's what it is. Somebody, yeah, okay, thank you. I couldn't figure it out. The chat always comes to the rescue to help me out. Okay, so do you oppose IVF? That was her question. It's a direct yes or no. Do you oppose IVF? The answer is yes, he does. And the reason I say that is because that's a Christian nationalist position, as was made obvious by the Alabama Supreme Court and the Chief Justice on the Supreme Court, who is also a QAnoner, in addition to being a Christian nationalist.
Yeah. No, of course not.
No, he doesn't oppose IVF. Oh, I bet. This is just flat out lie from him.
No, of course not. That's something that's blessed a lot of families who have problems with fertility. Of course, that's a great thing. I would support that. But look.
Well, here's the reason why IVF is controversial among these people. It shouldn't be, obviously, but people who are having trouble having a baby, they'll take an egg cell, just a single cell from the mother, and they'll take the sperm cell from the father. And I don't know, usually they take multiple eggs from the mother because it's like an invasive procedure. Take like 5 or 10 or something. And they will put them in a petri dish and like let them fertilize to turn into embryos. And then they freeze them instantly. So there is like no growth, no nothing. They're embryos. Boom. That's it. You implant one of them if you want to have a baby. Well, these people here believe, I mean, Mike Johnson and these other Christian nationalists, they believe that life begins the moment that the sperm cell enters the egg cell or whatever. And it's murder for IVF people to, like, dispose of embryos that were unused or whatever. Like, what? Are you kidding me? Get help, people.
Thing. I would support that. But look, again, these are not issues that are on the front of the agenda. And
oh, no, they're not? Funny. Those things were just, I mean, that just happened in Alabama and is being discussed across the country. Not at the front of the agenda, huh? Listen to this dude call himself effectively Moses, the modern day Moses.
the Lord told me very clearly to prepare and be ready. Be ready for what? Okay, I don't know. We're coming to a Red Sea moment. What does that mean, Lord? And then when the speaker's race happened and Kevin McCarthy, who's
this is early December 2023, by the way.
Dear friend of mine was deposed, vacated from the chair. Oh, wow. Well, this is what the Lord may have been preparing us for. And so I started praying more about that. And then the Lord began to wake me up through this 3-week process we're in the middle of the night and to speak to me and to write things down, plans and procedures and ideas on how we could pull the conference together. Now, at the time, I assumed the Lord is going to choose a new Moses. And, thank you, the Lord. Lord, you're going to allow me to be Aaron to Moses. And so I worked to get Steve Scalise elected speaker. That didn't happen. And then Jim Jordan, who's like another big brother of mine. No, that didn't happen. And then Tom Emmer and, all.
Yeah, he's outlining what happened when they were trying to pick a speaker.
Ultimately, 13 people ran for the post. And the Lord kept telling me to wait. So I waited. And then at the end, when
the Lord wasn't telling you anything. If you believed that the Lord was speaking to you, then start taking Seroquel. Start taking something that will stop the literal hallucinations from happening. You shouldn't be hearing somebody else's voice. That's not clinically mentally healthy.
The Lord kept telling me to wait. So I waited. And then at the end, when it came to the end, the Lord said, now, step forward. Me? I'm supposed to be Aaron. No, the Lord said, step forward.
So he turned himself into Moses, basically. He's saying he was Aaron, but now the Lord told him to be Moses. He is perfectly, exactly in line with what Marjorie Taylor Greene and the other far-right extremist nutcase Republicans want. Perfectly in line with them in every way. Do whatever they want. And Marjorie Taylor Greene comes along and, files a motion to vacate him from the speakership? Why? She's up to something here, right? Why did she do that? She's facing, a lot of blowback from it, too, by the way. This clip, this is Clay Higgins. It's from late March 2024.
I consider Marjorie Taylor Greene to be my friend. She's still my friend. But she just made a big mistake. Trying to vacate Mike Johnson's...
Insane?
Totally oppose that. Listen, Mike is a very good man. It begins every day from the...
No, he's not a good man. He's a scumbag.
Right place. He's deeply principled. He's like a brother to me. And to think that one of our Republican colleagues would call for his ouster right now, it's abhorrent to me. And I oppose it. I stand with Mike Johnson.
It's confusing as hell to me. There's some political game being played here, but I don't know what it is yet. Maybe we're going to need a little bit of time. Of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene claims that everybody loves her and everything is perfect. And, they're so happy with her decision to try to oust Mike Johnson.
When I left Washington, D.C. Last night and flew out on a plane, I have received nothing but praise and thank yous.
Nothing but praise and thank yous. Totally, I bet.
Because America is fed up with this, Steve. No one agrees. No one disagrees with me. This is outrageous, and Speaker Johnson should have never done this to his Republican majority.
Dude, what did he do?
To our Republican conference, and he broke the 72-hour rule and should have never passed that.
Dude, oh my God, dude. What is she even talking about right now? She just fabricated some rule that he violated to, get him vacated as the Speaker of the House? Why? Dude, I'm telling you, man, I love the chaos being wrought by the Republican Party right now. I don't know what she's up to, what the plan is, why she did this or what. I don't know. But I love everything about it, dude. Seriously. I love watching them eat themselves alive and enact plans that will inevitably fail miserably. It's phenomenal. Anyway, I just love it to death. Tell me what you think about it in the comments. Keep doing what you're doing, Marjorie. Loving it. Create chaos. Matt Gaetz, too. Create chaos, please. I'm begging you. Tell me what you think. That's all I've got for you. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check me out on Patreon. And take a look at my YouTube channels. Owen Morgan, where I talk about religious issues. Telltale Fireside Chat, where I talk about politics. Telltale Unfiltered, where I do long-form breakdowns of stuff like this, and Telltale Reads, where I read books by televangelists and others. I release everything in parts, but every part stands independently of the last, so you can jump in anywhere and I'll make sure it makes sense. You can find some ad-free, uncensored, complete versions of all my videos on my website, owenmorgan.com. And while you're there, don't forget to sign up for my email list to get early access to everything. All links are in the description. Okay, thanks for watching, guys.